Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Claw and the King podcast. I am joined by my co-host, who's still getting his headphones on. Obviously, I was a bit spry with that announcement and with that introduction. So, a lot has happened in the world. And, I mean, we won't discuss politics on this channel. I refuse to do so. This is a strictly sports show. However, it was very entertaining watching the coverage of the presidential election in the US over the last couple of days.
What I loved was just seeing all the people that we know, the sports broadcasters, just transition into politics.
Stephen A.
seamlessly.
is apparently, the next coming of. Maybe he put his hat in the ring as well, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah, he said, if I knew that there was enough support for me, I would run for president.
See, he is very cocky like that.
Yeah, he's very arrogant. Now, look, it could happen. Like, he couldn't. Like,
No,
could we
there's no
see
way.
a Donald Trump Jr. versus Stephen A. Smith presidential election?
Could you imagine the vocabulary in the debates?
Yeah. Well, look, Stephen A. is a man of probably a bit too crazy of a vocabulary. It's a bit too much. I guess for maybe not the political world, but for the sports world it is. But no, I think it would be great to see Stephen A. run. I don't know what his issues would be though. What do you reckon?
Oh, well, load management would be in the bin.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard would be exiled.
Staying off the weed. That's
Weed would be outlawed.
Marijuana. A sniff of it would be gone. What else? Ooh, Skip Bayless would be, and Max Kellerman would definitely be
Max Kellerman's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. Else? Big Perk would get some kind of...
Molly Karam would be the first lady.
Molly Karen first. Who would be the vice president? I'm assuming Big Perk.
No. It would be, what's his name? Mad Dog?
Mad Dog is vice pres. Wow, that's crazy. I mean, him and Shannon, mate. It might be a double Shannon.
I feel like has Shannon Sharp just like stopped being on ESPN?
I don't think he's on as much though. I feel like that's part of his contract. Is like he's on like 2 days a week, which is a bit mental. Anyway, did you want to transition into the basketball and sort of kick us off? The basketball starting. Obviously, we did some predictions after the first week of it. Don't know how they're going to pan out necessarily. I mean, your Anthony Davis pick and Lakers pick in general is not looking as good as it did as when we made those predictions a bit over a week ago. Now, is there anything that stands out to you from this NBA season so far?
I don't know what the biggest storyline is so far. It's hard for me to look past the Lakers, like whatever the Lakers are doing, be it good or bad. It's hard for me to look past. Obviously, there's been a dramatic turnaround since the very promising start of the season, which is alarming. You know, I was fooled into a sense of security by the first 3 games.
Yeah,
and I've been hit with brutal reality that this team still sucks. But in terms of other teams, I don't know what the biggest storyline is. Do you have one? I mean, I guess Cleveland.
Yeah, that's what I was going to kick off with. Cleveland being undefeated, 8-0,
9-0,
9-0 now. Just start off with. There's a couple of surprises in there. Obviously, you've got the Celtics looking good. To no one's surprise, the Warriors is another storyline that's getting talked about a lot. They obviously beat the Celtics in Boston recently, so it's not like they've had like some a cakewalk to their record at the moment. I think they're 7-1 or 8-1?
7-1.
7-1. And yeah, they've looked really, really good. I mean, guys like Buddy Hield have showed up for them. And all around, I mean, Moses Moody was starting, a guy that was, considered to be a bust, even, at the start of the year, but all of a sudden he's starting for the Warriors, so that's a bit crazy. But no, the Cavs and Warriors are probably the biggest surprises so far. Biggest disappointments for you? I mean, obviously the Lakers, but...
Yeah, the Lakers, but I don't know. I mean, the West is just... You can't even say anyone's a disappointment yet.
No, I didn't think so.
They have 11... I'm looking at the standings now. They have 11 teams currently 500 or better.
Yeah.
And the East has 4.
Well, no, yeah. Look, the 2 disappointments for me are both in the East. And it's pretty obvious. The biggest disappointment, just because of the fact that the other team has a key injury. The biggest disappointment is by far the Bucks.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
They are absolutely horrendous. I saw a meme that compared Doc Rivers and Darvin Ham to a former leader of...
Dumb and Dumber?
No, it was a bit more serious than that. It was more... how can I say this? They compared him to a terrorist that was famous in the mid 2000s.
Mid-2000s?
The early to mid 2000s. So
did he die?
Yeah, he died. He got killed. He's not a great guy.
Why was he compared to him?
Just in basketball terms, the meme was in basketball terms, and it was just a photo of Osama bin Laden. That was the name. Sorry. Fuck. No.
I don't know what the was.
Yeah, so essentially it was comparing him to Darvin Ham and Doc Rivers coaching in the NBA together in 2024, which I don't want to support, but I understand.
Way to compete. Salute.
Yeah. Way to go. How are they still coaching?
I don't know.
How is that happening?
Doc Rivers has obviously got like the best friend ticket to the league, where he's just got a lot of privileges.
Yeah, he won one ring with arguably one of the best teams of all time, especially Boston teams, which is, not easy to say because of how many great teams they've had. But yeah, the fact that he won one championship and disappointed and failed with multiple other great teams, not really a good marker for success.
No.
However, the Milwaukee Bucks fired their head coach last season after he guided them to the number 1 seed in the East. And then Doc Rivers is just being Doc Rivers. And I think they're under 500 with Doc Rivers. So,
yeah.
Not the best, I would say, if you're a Milwaukee fan. I mean, I don't know where they go from here. I mean, they talk about trading Dame. I mean, I don't know where the hell they go from here.
Yeah, it's tough. And there was a lot of talk of Giannis requesting a trade or being traded, but I think he's come out and said he doesn't want to go anywhere. But it's very hard to see them getting back to a championship level team with the coaches, obviously, but are they at the point now where the team's just past competing for a championship in its current structure?
Well, the team is crap. They rewarded a lot of players or fringe role players for them, obviously that won them the championship a couple of years ago. But they're still rolling them out because they're still tied to these long-term contracts. Like Pat Connaughton, Bobby Portis has looked dreadful. I think they're kind of like this old cast still, but they were old when they won the championship, and now they're really old and really bad. I sound like someone else. But no, I think the fact that they're still rolling out this team, and it's a really crap team outside Damon, Giannis, and Chris Middleton. I mean, his legs are made of spaghetti at this point. There's no way that they can go up from. I mean, Giannis has got to be thinking, "I'm out of it," and I do kind of.
But he wants to be that. He wants to be a one-team player.
I get that, and I do blame him almost because his constant every offseason, he's yapping on about how he needs his team to be competing for a championship every year. He needs his team to be, compete or he'll leave, and that's a dangerous rhetoric to set for an organization, especially with a player of his caliber, because it kind of puts the organization in a position where they're like, "Fuck, we gotta trade, Drew Holiday for Damian Lillard so we can get an upgrade, so we can get more star power, so we can win a championship." And when in reality, keeping Drew Holiday was a smarter decision because he's a great player that impacts winning. And yeah, there's just no patience from Giannis, and I think that sort of puts that patience or the lack of patience into the front office and the coaching staff as well. And that's why they are where they are, and they're just in a mess at this point. So I don't know how. I don't think they can even make the playoffs at this point.
Really? Wow. See, that's a big call. They still have.
Well, they might make the play-in, but I mean, directly playoffs, I doubt it.
Because they're only a game and a half out of the 6th seed, and it's I doubt they're going to get worse. I think they're going to get it together somewhat. I mean, you've got Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. You've got to be a 6th seed. You could. That team is that duo is still better than every team in the East, pretty much, apart from Boston.
Look at the rest of their starting lineup.
Yep, I mean, Middleton hasn't played. I know he's always injured, but
injured and crap at this point. Bobby Portis.
Well, he's off the bench.
Pat Connaughton. I mean, those guys are getting key minutes.
Brook Lopez is still good defensively.
Brook Lopez was a good player back when I was following. When I first started to watch basketball properly in 2013. This is 2024, and he's still a starting center.
Yeah,
you've got problems.
He's not a bad player. There's worse centers in the league. You know, who else are they? I mean, Gary Trent can make some shots. He's playing minutes. Who else? Who else is their starter? The Narcissus?
Exactly. No, I don't think he's even on there.
The Narcissus, I've heard he's in line for an extension.
Yeah, good on him. He's worked hard.
No, who else are they playing? Oh, Torian Prince.
Yeah.
I've just seen that name and gone,
Oh, there's a reason.
Does Darvin Ham just love Torian Prince? It must be the package duo.
I heard like a quote about that or something. I can't remember exactly, but it was just, I think it was talking about how, like, you see a lot of like really good NBA or really good players not be able to, fit in with like the league because they're not an elite guy. Like guys like Michael Beasley who failed because even though they're great basketball players, they can't fit in with the current mold of the NBA, which is like, if you're not a superstar, you've got to be an elite 3-and-D guy.
Yeah.
And Torian Prince fits that 3-and-D mantra. I mean,
does he?
Is he better than, Lonnie Walker? You've seen that he's just in the, he just moved to the EuroLeague. Is he better than Lonnie Walker? No chance. However, he can fit in with an NBA team better than Lonnie Walker can.
I don't think he even can, though. I mean, I would say the major reason Darvin Ham lost his job last year is because he refused to take that dude out of the starting lineup when he sucked game after game.
I'd say it's more that he was like salute during timeouts.
It all plays into it. But I mean, obviously Austin Reeves and Rui are better players than Torian Prince. But
that's my thing. Like when you've got LeBron and AD and D'Lo playing, all who are just heavy volume, in terms of needing the ball in their hands. You need guys who are going to space. So I understand his thinking with it.
But he's not a good shooter. He's not a good shooter.
Yeah, but he's a corner 3 guy. Like, he can shoot from the corner.
I would not be confident in him. Can he make a shot?
I don't think he's good.
But
I don't think he's good.
He's not a good shooter for an NBA standard player. No way. And defensively, I mean, he's okay, but he's nothing crazy. So, yeah. I mean, if he's in your starting lineup, you're in trouble. I'll say that. So
fair play.
Yeah. And I guess the other team in the East is Philly.
Yeah. Losing to the Clippers by 20. A Clippers team that, I mean, is dreadful.
Harden's sucking and they're still winning.
No, Harden is so infuriating. I mean, the team is infuriating to watch as a Clippers. It's
Norman Powell is just
he's
carrying.
Did you see his quote? He was like, for years I was relishing on the bench. And
this is Norman Powell's revenge season.
Yeah, it's like, I can finally show what I've got. And it's like, okay, buddy, your name's Norman. Shut up. I think it's so infuriating to watch. Sorry to segue a bit, but it's so infuriating to watch the Clippers at offense at the moment. It's so bad because it's essentially James Harden either, throwing a lob to Zubac, great, or turning the ball over or bricking. And that's not fun. But no, essentially, the game of the other night, I mean, Philly were horrendous. I mean, Philly had Paul George. Paul George was playing, so it's not like they had bums out there. Maxey came out, I think, during the middle of the game with an injury that he's going to be out for a couple of weeks, I think. But still, Maxey was starting. I mean, you have players there, but it's just not coming together. And
that's what I was said in the last episode. If they're not careful, they're going to get to 2-10, and they're going to scramble to make the playoffs.
Yeah, they're 1-6 right now.
Yeah, so I mean, PG got booed back in the building. I love to see it.
Yeah,
he was obviously unhappy about it after the game, but
yeah, he's like, that was ridiculous.
If you don't understand why you're getting booed, you're an idiot.
Yeah, it was just like, I had to do what's best for myself. I took the better offer on the table.
Yeah, but what about like choking in the playoffs for 4 straight years?
We didn't boo you because you left. We booed you because you stunk it up, and then just played the most ridiculous hardball that we've hit this on the show many times, but how you played the most stupid hardball I've ever seen in my life, wanting to be paid more than a player that you said was the number one on the team. Bit ridiculous. And yeah, I just think the way that he acted about it, he's like, how, I just couldn't understand it. Like, what they were doing. I mean, I just don't get it. It's just, it's Paul George being Paul George. And yeah, he's gone to a team because he's chasing his bag that was in shambles and really paid him whatever he wanted for a reason, because they suck. And they just had to throw a Hail Mary at it and try and get some talent in there to try and compete because they've never been able to get over the hump. And yeah, Joel obviously is out, so that's obviously a big part of that team. He's a good player, a great player. But he's very injury prone, so you can't rely on him. Paul George is injury prone, so you can't rely on him. Maxi's out for a couple of weeks. Similar boat with the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks I have a bit more faith in making the playoffs because, like you said, they do have those two elite players, even though they don't gel well together. They still have those players that can score, 35 a night easy. The Philly with their injury history and the fact that they're not gelling as a team, and the fact that Nick Nurse isn't looking great as a head coach either, it's just kind of a combination of everything you don't want in your team. So, I mean, if they were to make the playoffs, like in a top 4 seed, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, I think top 4 is probably gone from this point, even though it's the East, though. I mean, in the West, you'd say it's gone, but I mean, Brooklyn are currently in the top 4.
Yeah.
Like, just the state of that conference is disgusting. Really poor stuff. I mean, the whole, it's just disgusting. It's probably the worst conference I've ever seen.
Well, yeah,
apart
in terms
from
of discrepancy.
Apart from Boston. Yeah. And Cleveland have obviously been incredible to start the season, which I guess we can touch on them. Are you buying into Cleveland as contenders?
No, I don't think anyone really is. I think I've heard a lot of commentary online about them being sort of the Toronto Raptors of the past, the Atlanta Hawks. You do have this team, or in recent memory, you do have a team in the East that are always sort of at the top or near the top during the regular season, and then during the playoffs, they come up against elite players and realize, oh shit, we are not that good. So yeah, happened with the Hawks, happened with, like with the Raptors, like I said. I mean, both those teams finished, top 1 seed and had 60 wins in season. So it's not like this is new to the East. But yeah, I don't buy them as a contender, but I buy them as a good team. I mean, they do have good pieces, and I think they are a good team, and they got a solid coach. So, I mean, props to them. I mean, if you're 8-0, you can't be complaining.
No. I think they could give it a shake. I mean, when you look at it, they've got Donovan Mitchell, I think that's the main question is, can he be a number 1 guy on a championship team, which historically he has not been able to do. Yeah. But when you look at it, you've got Donovan Mitchell, all-star level player, Darius Garland, all-star level player, Jared Allen, all-star level center. Evan Mobley is turning into an all-star level player. Karis LeVert, one of the better 6 men in the league. Like, they've got all the makings of a great team. It's just about...
They're missing a piece, though. And that's the main thing. I think, especially to compete with Boston in that conference, it's not easy. And you need an elite piece to... I mean, and look, we've harped on about how Tatum is maybe not an elite piece, but he is still a 1A. And he's a 1A, maybe not for... In terms of being able to win a championship, he probably needs to be a 1A for that team. And he wouldn't be a 1A in a championship team for many other teams or any other team. But I don't think Donovan Mitchell could win a championship with the Celtics if he was replaced. If him and Tatum swap places, I don't think the Celtics would.
Wow.
They might have made the finals, but I think ultimately they just didn't have the top tier talent. And that's my fear with the Cavs. And look, the Cavs are a good team, but in the playoffs, I mean, like I said, the Hawks, they had like 4 All-Stars that year. Now, Budenholzer was a coach, and he did pick his players. He'd pick Kyle Korver in the All-Star team. But, Paul Millsap was an All-Star. Al Horford was an All-Star. Jeff Teague was an All-Star at that time. They did have All-Stars. So with the Raptors, Kyle Lowry, Marc Gasol. DeMar DeRozan. They had All-Stars. So I don't know if Gasol was there actually during that time. Might have been Valanciunas.
He was in Memphis.
Did Marc Gasol get there before Kawhi or during Kawhi?
I'm pretty sure he got there the year they won.
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong there. But anyway, Valanciunas, all-star kind of level player at that time. So you can have all-star level players, but you need an elite player to really drag you up if you have a good supporting cast. And I just don't think they've got that, unfortunately. But yeah, it's interesting at the moment. The Warriors, everyone's talking about. We harped on about them for a bit. Do you think that Steph Curry could do it again?
It's hard to bet
2022 all over again.
Yeah, it's hard to get a bet against the man. He just keeps delivering, and he's showing no signs of aging. Although he probably hasn't had his best start to the season for his standards, but he's still playing well. Coming into this season, I had almost no expectations for the Warriors. I didn't see the depth, the star level power apart from Curry. Draymond has been consistently regressing, it feels like, for years, but he's started to play well again. Andrew Wiggins has been awful since the championship run, so, could he get back to being good? Kuminga and Moody, there's been talk for years of these guys taking over the team, but they never really managed to do it. Buddy Hield was obviously the main acquisition in the offseason, but he was a good role player, but he was never like a guy that's going to take you to championship contention. But, I mean, it looks like they're just all gelling together. And, yeah, I mean, you can't bet against Steph Curry, I don't think. I wouldn't be saying they're my favourite, but...
No, you can't bet against Steph Curry. I think it's tough. It is really tough to predict the West because of how many teams are at that sort of level. Do I think it's on the 2022 sort of roster? Not really. Like, they still have a lot of those same pieces. Gary Payton's another one that's had a sort of an impact for them this season. So it's... they've got a lot of the similar pieces that they had in the similar way that they play, obviously, that they did in 2022. It's just going to be... it's tough to say it this early on. I think you're going to have to see another 20 games from them to really gauge if they're really a contending team or if they're just going to be sort of a team that started well and then sort of meandered into, 5th, 6th seed.
Yeah. But, what you don't want to do is give the Warriors confidence. I feel like they're a confidence team, and when they get on a roll and they feel like they are actually a championship-level team, they then start to deliver on that level. Andrew Wiggins is probably the biggest confidence player in the league. He can go in his shell or he can be Michael Jordan for a game. But, yeah, in terms of other contenders in the West, obviously OKC have looked great. Phoenix have looked very good. 7-1.
I don't think
they've won a lot of games.
I'm hating on Phoenix because I just don't like Phoenix, but they've had a lot of they've pulled out a lot of close games.
Yeah.
And against bad teams. They have not looked great for long stretches. Now, look, they looked better recently, but especially early on, they were looking really dodgy. How many overtime or close to overtime games did they get? And look, to their credit, they won them. But when usually good teams dominate regular season games.
Yeah.
You see from the Celtics, they're dominating games. Even the Warriors are dominating games. But yet they're not really dominating those games, and they're kind of just relying on Kevin Durant to pull them out late and Devin Booker to pull them out late. So, yeah, I think they're a good team, but I still don't buy them as a contender, really. I like the Plumlee pickup for them. I think that's an underrated pickup this offseason. Gives them a big athletic guy in the middle for them, but still, I don't really rate them.
No, but it's crazy to me that these old heads, I guess, in the league, they're just still the best players. We've talked about for 5 years at least, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, LeBron James falling off, and who's going to take the torch. But it just seems like it's never going to happen.
No, it will.
They're just still all the best players. I don't understand.
Yeah, is that maybe something wrong with, the younger players? Is that something wrong with them? I don't know if it is like that. I think it's just those guys with generational talents, and that with modern medicine, we've just never seen it before, where you have players that play to their primes up until their late 30s. It just doesn't happen in previous generations. And when you have these generational players who are some of the elite, especially those 3 guys in terms of scoring, there isn't really anyone that you can compare them to. So I think it's a bit. I think it's a bit of both. Maybe it's a bit of the new generation isn't taking the mantle, and as well, the old generation is prolonging their play.
The reason I brought that up is because I don't know if you saw Jar's thing where he said, obviously he had the in-game thing with LeBron, and after the game he was like, I don't like him about the Lakers, which is fair enough, each to their own. But then he posted on Instagram, I want the torch. So.
Wow.
He
wants a torch.
Yeah, he's outwardly saying he wants to be the guy to take over the league.
He won't be, but I like the confidence.
He's played 10 games since he's been back. The highlight reel on the man is insane. The 360 layups.
Look, he could do. I'm being a bit facetious when I say that. But no, I do think Anthony Edwards is the next guy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's close. And the Timberwolves are doing their best to try and screw him over. But I do think he is the next guy. I think he's crazy. And this is not, in terms of, confidence and being able to back it up, And LeBron was never a big trash talker, so it's maybe a bit different.
I feel like he kind of low-key is, but maybe just because there was no mics in the games back in the day, you never really saw it.
Yeah, I think he was more in-game. I think Anthony Edwards is more of like an outer game as well. But no, I think Anthony Edwards is definitely... Look, it depends on him and how badly he wants it, but yeah, I think he's special. But no, is any of the new rookies impressing you?
The new rookies.
Alex Sara isn't as bad as we thought, by the way. He's actually playing okay.
Is he?
Fair play to him.
I haven't really watched much Washington.
Risa Shea, the number one pick, put up a 31-point game the other day. So, look, maybe this draft was...
Zach Edey's he's playing
Zach
decent.
Edey's having some impact. Connect wasn't great recently, but started well.
No. But to go back to the Lakers... D'Angelo Russell, I'm done with that, brother. Just got to put that out there.
Is JJ Redick a fraud now? Is he...
I don't know if he's a fraud because he's clearly upset with what's happening on the court. Like, they're not doing what he's telling them, clearly.
Okay. But they're 4-4. Darvin Ham. I mean, maybe we...
Don't mention his name.
Maybe we need to apologise to him because...
Apologise?
Apparently JJ Redick was a messiah and he's not doing anything with this team.
Well, yeah... I just don't know. But, to be fair with D'Angelo, this is what he is. Everyone's, getting on him now. But he'll go through stretches, and 10-game stretches of being the worst player in the league, and then the next 10 games he'll be an all-star. So, expecting that to change in year 10 or whatever this is for him is unrealistic. But, yeah, I think JJ Redick is a good coach. Maybe we jump the gun on, coach of the year sort of candidacy.
It's not we. It's
okay.
Specifically you.
I'm sure some other people would have been in the same boat as me.
Yeah, Lakers fans would have been in that same boat. But the amount of talk I heard after one game is crazy.
I know there was so many things of I've seen enough.
Yeah, I've seen enough. This is it. This is the guy. No, I think the Lakers they need to play Bronny more. I think that's the real...
we've just sent him to the G League.
Damn it! What is he doing, man? He needs to play Bronny more.
He was so good in his 30 seconds the other game.
Yeah.
So.
He scored his first bucket. You can't hate on him the other day. So, yeah, fair play.
Yeah. But, yeah, AD didn't play. I don't know what his injury is. Hopefully it's not big. Actually, I've not heard anything about it.
He is injured. I did hear about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, everything.
To be fair, he's leading the league in scoring.
Yeah, but he's going to be injured for half the year, so he's ineligible to get voted for it.
Well... That remains to be seen.
Okay. Anyway, moving on from basketball. Anything else you want to hop on about? Is there any massive... Well, I know there is a massive UFC card coming up.
Yeah.
Have you... Obviously, with the Donald Trump thing, have you seen the... all the memes about Dana White? It's like...
Well, he is Trump's biggest fan.
But it's like him, Elon, and it's like Trump, Elon, and...
It's a billionaires boys club.
And it's just Trump talking about, the future... Elon's talking about the rockets. Oh no, it's I can't remember.
Data's talking about John Jones.
It's gonna be I think the caption was Trump is gonna create freedom, and then Elon Musk says, "Oh, we can create freedom on Mars," and then it's John Jones will create freedom on Mars for Dana White. It's just all the memes of how John Jones. And speaking of, he is about to fight.
He's about to fight. Can you believe it? No, but he is about to fight next week, hopefully.
Well, no, he'll fight the old guys. I did see I don't know what podcast it was, but he did say that when someone asked him, "Hey, what about Tom Aspinall?" He's like, "Nah, it's too. I don't want to say he's a small name, but he's not a big enough name." And it's bro, you're clearly ducking him. He's the biggest name in heavyweights in the heavyweight division at the moment, and he's the best. Why not fight him? It's just Stipe. He's got that all. And no, he was talking about Pereira, and it's brother, Pereira fights at middleweight sometimes. You can't be
Yeah. So, he's clearly ducking Aspinall. I do feel he's kind of trolling, though, at this point, where he knows the narrative is every single actual MMA fan wants.
I think he's that detached from reality that he just doesn't grasp the fact that... No, I think he understands that MMA fans want it, but I think he doesn't care about that. He only cares about winning a fight that is winnable for him whilst making a lot of money.
Yeah, well, I think he's so conscious about his record now that he's even though he technically has a loss, it's not a loss really, but Yeah, it's interesting. And Dana has obviously come out. Dana obviously wants the Aspinall fight to happen because he's like, shit, this is just so, uncredited, really.
What's a bad look?
If they're not fighting Aspinall. So he's come out and said, look, I'm reasonably confident whoever wins is probably going to fight Aspinall. Where Stipe has blatantly said, I'm not fighting again no matter what. And John Jones has done his best to pretty much shut down any chance of him fighting Aspinall. So I don't know. Because Aspinall is the backup fighter for this fight, so he's going to be there. I wonder if they force him in the cage after the fight.
Yeah, maybe. No, maybe it's beforehand. Maybe they say, hey, Stipe, look, mate, we'll give you some money. We'll give you some showing up money.
Like,
how about you just pull out?
They don't even tell anyone. They just play Aspinall's walkout music as Stipe's meant to come out.
It's like WWE. It's just John
Jones just runs out of the cage.
What?
But yes, no, the fight is John Jones versus Stipe on next Sunday. Obviously, I'm going to be picking John Jones. I think probably first round submission or knockout.
Right? No, you can't pick against Stipe, surely. Yeah, I think anyone with a brain would do that.
Yeah. So, and when we look at the card, it is in Madison Square Garden, which is always a big card every year, but the card is actually not that good.
Well, they got Stipe and John Jones. That's fine.
Yes. So the co-main at this stage is Oliveira versus Chandler, which is a good fight.
Could have been Conor.
There has been, it could have been Conor. There's been whispers around either guy pulling out potentially. There seems to be a bit of uncertainty around this fight. I've seen Poirier threw up his hand to fight on short notice. Someone else did as well. I think, what's his name? Moicano, maybe? Do you know Moicano? No. Yeah, obviously not. But yes, hopefully this fight happens. If it does, it's a sick fight. Obviously a rematch of when they fought for the title a few years ago. Not Chandler. Oliveira won that fight by knockout. Do you remember that?
I do remember.
There's like a beautiful left hook dropped him.
Well, no, I think Oliveira. I mean, is this for anything? Obviously, it's not for a title.
It's not for anything.
Is this like
allegedly it's a number one contender fight.
Okay, so if Chandler wins this, he could be in.
He can fight Islam.
He can get absolutely battered by Islam. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Well, no, I think Oliveira is going to win this. I mean, Chandler's been on the couch for 4 years, so surely.
But
he was praying to God that McGregor would show up, and he never did. So, there's no way Oliveira doesn't win this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd say Oliveira would be the favourite. The issue is he's lost a couple of fights recently, which isn't good. I know it was against Islam and Sarukian, I believe he lost to, he should be fighting for the belt next. But still, losses are losses, and they tend to build up in the UFC when you get in the habit of having them. And Oliveira is very, very chinny. It's similar to like Rob Whittaker, where skill for skill, he's gonna win, but he's just chinny. So, and Chandler does have hands. You know, we've seen him knock out Dan Hooker. Obviously, we saw the knockout of Tony Ferguson. But
I mean, that's just Tony Ferguson. I do agree with that, but it is just a case of I just don't think he'll get through. If Oliveira can get through. I mean, I know you said the same about Rob, but if Oliveira can get through a round, I think it's just going to be over. Simply for the fact that Chandler will be gassed in going into the middle area of that fight, and Oliveira the submissions will just absolutely destroy him. But that's just my opinion from a casual's perspective. I don't know if there's a underlying Michael Chandler might be the greatest fighter of all time, but he just...
Well, there is an underlying thing that he actually might be, but he's just the dumbest fighter of all time.
Yeah. So, look, it could be a Chandler win, and Chandler could be the champion. It could be McGregor Chandler.
Yeah, because...
maybe that was Conor's plan. He wanted Chandler to fight for the title.
Well, because when you look back at the Gaethje and the Poirier fights with Chandler, he obviously lost them both, but he probably should have won them if he wasn't an idiot and just striking for no reason and like letting them punch him in the face. But so you can argue skill for skill, he actually is one of the better fighters. But obviously IQ comes into it and he ain't got much of that. So yeah, I'm gonna be going with Oliveira. For the rest of the card, Bo Nickal's back. I feel like he hasn't fought in ages. He's fighting Paul Craig at middleweight. You're a big Paul Craig fan?
Yeah, massive. Probably the most boring name I've ever heard.
He's a Scottish guy.
Paul Craig. I mean...
Paul Craig.
How could you have that name and envision yourself being an athlete? But
I don't know. Yeah, but Bo Nickel should win. It is a bit of a dangerous fight, though. Paul Craig is like a jiu-jitsu specialist, so that could be the anti-whatever to Bo Nickel's wrestling.
Fair play.
Fair play. Rest of the card, some chicks that no one's going to know and some other guys no one's going to know. So this is really a bad card as far as pay-per-views go.
It's got John Jones.
It's got John Jones. I would not be surprised if it does like 300K buys.
No, I mean, it's John Jones. You got to buy for John Jones. Dana White. Maybe this is why Dana's been hyping up John Jones for the past, I don't know.
I mean, I'm excited to see the pre-fight rhetoric that Dana White throws out there, because he throws out whatever numbers, feel beneficial for him to present to the populace at the time. And he'll probably say, oh my God, the pre-fight buys are off the charts here. I mean, look at the views on the embedded vlogs. I mean, it is insane right now.
I still never get over the fact where he just...
The card.
No, for the friggin'... the slapping thing that he does.
Oh, yeah.
And he just...
More followers than Real Madrid.
Yeah. He's like, we have more views than every sports channel combined. And it's like, where?
That's like 1 million followers.
It's like, bruh, TikTok is just like stupid. That doesn't count. You don't get any money from TikTok. It's not the same as someone watching something on like TV.
The thing is, he probably actually doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just got like a staff member that feeds him this information.
No, it's 100%. He's in a meeting and he's like, all right, what numbers can we talk about, guys? And it's like...
And this staff member's like, shit, what can make this look good?
The power slap, everything. There is no good ratings.
If we add every single view we have across all of our social channels, it's more than everyone.
Yeah.
So...
There you go. We have 700 million views on someone slapping one another. That is... prime. That's what I'm going to bring up.
Absolute prime. But it's still going somehow.
No, yeah. So. He'll talk about like the t-shirts in the van outside were sold. Well, sold out.
But I don't think, are they crowded events? Yeah, it seems like they're all super like, no, the
power slap. Oh, yeah. I don't know. I don't think they can get a crowd, honestly. It's a
strange thing to like pay and watch.
Because it's like... awkward to watch. There's no skill involved.
And there's only like 1 second of action.
No, and it's just awkward to watch someone just stand there while someone's beating them up, essentially.
Yeah, well, and you don't want to pay to watch someone who, in an arguably athletic profession, rock up, be 300 kilos, literally just an obese human, and throwing their hand at another man's face.
It's just weird, man. Like, why are we watching this? For TikTok, it could get views. Like, that's what it's gotten views on. But for, like, regular television, no one's going to sit down and watch the Power Slap Championships and be like, oh, shit, this is happening. I mean, I don't know. There might be a base out there in, like, Southern America or I don't know.
I think it's big in Russia, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a demographic out there, but it's just not... it's not going to be like the UFC. I mean, I'm sure the UFC heard it about when they were starting. The UFC can never be on mainstream TV, but I just don't... And maybe that's what's giving Dana this false sense of hope about it. It's like, well, when I started the UFC...
That is literally what he says. That is literally what he says.
When I started the UFC, no one said I could do this. It's like, the product's a bit different, but sure.
Maybe if you could diversify it, where you could do like a handstand into a head kick slap, and the opponent doesn't know what's coming.
Maybe that's the way forward.
You just got to innovate the sport somehow. Yeah. That's not for me to do, though. I'm not going to put ideas forth.
Why not?
Why? I just don't like the sport.
Okay.
I think it should be disbanded.
What? Say that to Dana right now.
I'd love to. Okay. I'd love to. No one stands up to Dana. That's the thing I hate. All the press conferences.
That's just how it is.
I know, but it would just be cool
if you ever
if someone
worked in
could.
A business, that's just how it is. It's like, okay, boss. No worries, boss. That's just how business is.
Yeah, but...
You're not going to tell your boss, actually, I don't think you're doing the right thing here.
But it's just so much more entertaining if someone actually speaks the truth to him.
Yeah, but it's just never going to happen.
Anyway, sometimes it does. Moving on, we can talk about other fighting news coming up next week as well, is Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson.
Right, on Netflix as well.
Free.
I mean, I actually like that idea. That's a really innovative thing that Netflix has done. I think, to drive people to subscribe. I don't think they're going to be making as much money as they could have done from pay-per-view, but, if you're getting sort of subscribers. I guess it wouldn't be as big for this, but I think the UFC, it could be something they look at in the future, try and get it on streaming services, just to make it more accessible for fans. And that's another thing about Dana, just to backtrack, that I don't like as much, how he like prosecutes people. Not prosecutes, like if you want to prosecute people from illegally streaming your thing, then that's fine. But it's illegally, like, not illegally, but demonizing people that watch it as well. It's like, brother, your product costs $50 every single time you want to watch a card. Like, some people just don't have that money and they're fans of the UFC and they want to watch. So it's like, that's the reason why these streaming platforms exist, is because, or these illegal streaming platforms exist, is because your product is way too expensive. If your product was on a streaming service that most people had, you wouldn't have this problem. Like the NFL doesn't really have that problem because it's accessible, even though it's on different channels, and it's actually a bit of a problem. But
is it on Amazon now?
Yeah, but they have, like, people are still able to watch some games at least because it's on one of the streaming channels that they have. It's either on, I don't know, ESPN, or it's on Amazon, or it's on something. So they're able to watch at least a game a week. But you're not allowed to watch your product at all unless you pay $50 in its full, in its entirety, and that's just a bit fucked up. But I like how they've done it. Do you think that Mike Tyson is gonna win, or?
I'd love to think so. It's, he's pushing 60 years old, so it's hard to believe that he's going to be able to win, even though he was the best boxer in the world, 30 years ago. It's just hard to see a 60-year-old man go out there and beat, someone. You can say what you want about Jake Paul. At this point, he is a very good boxer. Is he a very good professional boxer? No, but he's very good at boxing.
No, yeah. I think he'll win. I think Jake Paul will win. I don't think it'll be close. I think he'll probably knock him out within 20 seconds.
20 seconds?
Probably. Or it'll be like, I don't think maybe knockout, but it'll be like stopped within a minute.
I'll be very sad.
60 years old. It's sad. That's the main point about it. It's just sad that you're fighting this 6-year-old guy. Like, he clearly won't have it. I mean, he's Mike Tyson, but he still won't have it. Like, he just can't.
But if he does, though, it's just going to be so sick.
It'd be embarrassing for Jake Paul, though. Like, that's what I think. It's not really a win-win for Jake Paul. I mean, maybe in his head, I beat Mike Tyson. But in reality, with his fans, it's like, well, you beat up a 6-year-old, or you got beat up by a 6-year-old. There is no real win-win here. There is no positive way to spin that. But no, I do think Jake Paul will win pretty comfortably.
Yeah, I'd have to lean towards him as well. Obviously, I'd love Mike Tyson to win. It's honestly, you have to give it up to Jake Paul how long he's extended this career. I mean, I remember when he first started, he was fighting. I think it was the first fighter he fought, Ben Askren, and everyone was saying Ben Askren's going to kill this guy. And he, how many years later are we? 4 or 5 years later, he's still fighting these guys, and no one's managed. I mean, I know he had that loss to Tommy Fury, but it's, until he gets knocked out, no one's going to be like.
Well, that's the problem with it as well. Like, the fact that he's been able to elongate this so long, and the only real fight against a boxer probably that's around his age, he's lost. So it's not the best look for him. And he's basically been fighting either old geezers or geezers that aren't boxers or have boxed before in their life. So it's a bit weird, but look, the fact that he's been able to make so much money, you got to give him props.
Yeah, and still, everyone still talks about the KSI fight.
Yeah,
see,
that's what you want to see. It's a KSI fight, but I don't think it'd ever happen. I just think they would make a lot of money from it, so I can see the avenue.
They would.
There.
I reckon it would almost be bigger than, like a Canelo fight at this point.
I think a couple of years ago it would have been peak though. Like, I think now it's died down a bit.
But they always find ways to stay relevant in different lanes. Like KSI, just with the song he dropped, although it was a lot of hate, it makes him extremely relevant. And Jake Paul now with the Mike Tyson fight. So that they always find ways to stay at the top of the social media zeitgeist, as it is called.
It's crazy how like famous KSI is. Like,
I know
when I watched them back in the day on YouTube when I was like young, And it's this guy like ranting at his fucking...
He's literally a loser in his bedroom.
Yeah, he's literally just playing FIFA and just like doing stupid shit with his brother. And now he's like transcended popularity. Like world leaders know about him.
Yeah.
And which is just mental. But no, I think, KSI, I don't know when it would happen, but I hope it does happen soon with the Jakey Ball.
Yes, indeed. I think that's probably it for combat sports at the moment. Is there any, football, is there anything going on?
There's a bit. I think you've got, obviously the new manager.
Yeah.
Sacking Ten Hag, bringing in Amarin. Not a bad manager choice. But again, we're going around in circles with United. It's just not... I thought Ten Hag was a good coach, and he was a good coach prior to coming to United, but... You come to United and you abandon your tactics 4 weeks in because you realise, oh shit, this is not going to work. And that's what happened with Ten Hag.
Rashford doesn't want to sprint, so...
No. So we've got Amarin coming in. He beat City 4-1 in the Champions League.
I saw that.
So, and he's done unbelievable things with Sporting. So, he's an understudy to Jose Mourinho. Like, there is a lot to be excited for. And he's probably the best manager choice out there. But I've gotten to the point now where it's like, I have really little faith in anyone being able... I don't know if Pep Guardiola could turn this around. It's pretty bizarre how every single manager is failed.
Yeah, it's probably the biggest, systematic drop-off in a major sporting club maybe ever since, 2012.
Well, look, that's what happens when you have consistent... one person being the leader of something and then having no future plan, or have that future plan being terrible when they hired David Moyes. So I think it's a case of bad ownership and one guy sort of steering the ship, and after he retired, there was no sort of...
Was Alex Ferguson like a Wayne Bennett type of coach where he's more of a man manager than a tactician?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So, he's a bit different to Wayne. Wayne's more like put your arm around... I love how Wayne Bennett is. I don't think Sir Alex Ferguson would know who Wayne Bennett is, but that's by the by. No, I think Wayne's a lot more sort of, put the arm around the shoulder. And not that Sir Alex wouldn't do that, but I think he was a lot more sort of like a player's best friend. Whereas the manager, like Sir Alex Ferguson, was like the boss. He is God. And that's how he was viewed within the... He was the most important thing in the club. And that doesn't happen nowadays. It happens with City, with Pep, because he is the most important thing in the club, or person in the club. But with a lot of professional sports nowadays, we talk about basketball all the time, about how the players have so much power. You look at, in Minnesota, for example, is anyone more important than Anthony Edwards in that organization? Absolutely not. You look at many teams. There is no one more important than the coach, there was for Man United. There was no one more important than Sir Alex Ferguson. So, and to go from that and him being the complete dictator, essentially, of that club, when you leave, it's like, well, who's going to be the dictator? Well, David Moyes cannot be the dictator of your club. So, it's a bit tricky to transition, and they just didn't have the ownership in place to do it that really cared about doing it properly. But look, they've got new people in, so hopefully they obviously they did identify that, that Ten Hag wasn't the right guy, and they moved on from him. So hopefully Amarin does well. United won as well in the Europa League game against PAOK, I think.
PAOK?
I think PAOK.
Well, I've never heard of them, so it's obviously a massive win.
Well, they're not a bad team, I don't think. I think they're okay.
What league are they from?
I think they're Greek. I don't know.
Greek?
I don't know. But
was that the first Europa League win in 10 games?
I think it's the first win in Europe for like a year or something. Or 10 months or something stupid like that. But Ahmad looked good. I don't know why he hadn't been playing, really, because our wingers, and we haven't been able to create any goals, but that was more of a Ten Hag thing. But I think hopefully when Amarin comes in, I think he's supposed to come in soon, actually. So hopefully he can do well and do whatever he can. Arsenal are dropping off a bit, actually, in the Premier League race as well. Nottingham Forest are third.
Yeah.
So
how's that happened?
Well, Chris Wood New Zealand guy, doing great. Nuno Espirito Santo is their manager, who's obviously doing, good things. But yeah, it's a really weird one because
do they still have Lingard?
No, Lingard's in like Korea.
Ah,
Lingard left there like 2 years ago.
right.
But no, they've the thing with the Prem is very close. From 5th down to
Liverpool are winning
14th, it's like 4 points. So it's very close in the middle. Chelsea are looking good. But yeah, the main problem is Liverpool. Liverpool are sort of looking pretty unreal at the moment, so that's not great, especially if you're a United fan.
Dude, we suck.
Yeah.
We're in 13th.
But again, we're 3 points off like 4th or 5th. So it's not like...
6 points.
Okay. Yeah, still. Anyway, we need to do something in Europa for us to have anything out of this season. But yeah, United looking okay. Hopefully we can bring in some players in January, but yeah, who knows?
Yes, interesting. Do you want to talk about the Ballon d'Or?
The Ballon d'Or.
It was very controversial.
Very controversial. I don't think it's controversial, as controversial as people think. I think Rodri is a great player, and I mean, the Ballon d'Or is always taken into account international trophies a lot more than the regular person would in terms of an individual award. So Rodri, obviously, with City winning all the trophies, and then with Spain winning, the Euros. I mean, it's a pretty good resume in the eyes of sort of the Ballon d'Or. And look, Vinicius is a great player, and individually is a great player and scores more goals and gets more assists. But in terms of impact on a team, I think Rodri's on City is humongous. And I think just in general, people aren't used to...
Yeah, well, I think that was the question, is Ballon d'Or never goes to a holding midfielder historically.
No. Because it's seen as like a defensive position. And it rarely goes to centre-backs and stuff. And I think it's just because we've had Messi and Ronaldo for so many years, I think it's just a surprise for people that, the winger who scored 40 goals and got 20 assists didn't win it. But I don't hate it. I think it's a bit weird from them sort of boycotting the ceremony, especially when they had people that won stuff at the Ballon d'Or ceremony. I think Ancelotti won Coach of the Year or some shit like that. So I think it's a bit weird that they're kind of just ostracizing themselves from the award.
So what, Madrid boycotted because Vinny didn't win it?
Yeah, so none of them went.
That's fucking whack.
And I think their president...
I mean, you can say like you thought he should have won it, but you can't, boycott it. He wasn't a guaranteed winner.
Yeah, I thought they thought that.
It's not like, Ronaldo and Messi were clearly the best guys and they give it to Harry Kane or something.
Well, they did do that. They gave it to Modric one year.
Well, yeah.
And they did give it to friggin' whack jobs. But anyway, no, I think the Ballon d'Or, it is what it is. I don't really care about the Ballon d'Or, really. But
wow.
Shocking.
Shocking.
Yeah. It's only because United players haven't got close to it for the past 10, 11 years. So
Rashford would have been pretty close one year, surely.
Yeah.
Top 30?
No, I think actually in that season he did really well. He probably was top 10. But
yeah.
Who knows? Anyway.
There you go. What else? And do you want to chat a bit of NFL?
NFL.
I've been keeping up with a little bit.
Have you? What have you been keeping up with so I can educate you?
Are the Chiefs going to be undefeated?
Probably.
Probably.
I would.
There's a lot of scripting involved in their games.
Yeah, well, that's just Twitter. No, I think. Look, they haven't looked. But again, last year they didn't look great at times. They brought in. Have you heard of DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah.
Big braided guy. They brought him in as a receiver that they desperately needed. They obviously look great, so they're 8-0. It's hard to go undefeated in an NFL season just because of how tough it is week on week just to get a win. But apparently for them, it's not that hard. But no, I think Patrick Mahomes looks great. It's just, it's inevitable at this point that they will sort of be the number one seed in the AFC. So hopefully they don't go through, because I am a Chargers fan and we are rivals technically, even though I do appreciate greatness. I'm always a big appreciate greatness guy.
Right.
Unless it's the Warriors in the NBA terms.
But surely now you can appreciate them.
I appreciate
They've
Curry.
They've lost KD.
Them.
They've lost.
I don't appreciate.
Clay.
I never appreciate KD. No. Don't appreciate KD. Don't appreciate Draymond. No. I just didn't like that team at all. I just don't. Because they were such a fucking... It's mainly the fans as well. I think the fans add to it. how a bunch of bandwagoners jumped on.
They were probably the most bandwagon team.
The most bandwagon team I've ever seen. And it's just... you get that with success.
And they pump the Clippers every year in the playoffs.
No, I don't think it was that. It was just the fact that it was just... Oh, God. It was just inevitable that you win. And in basketball, it's very hard to win it, back-to-back even. But for them to had the dominance that they did, pretty tough on a general fan who had a Clippers team who never really got close. But no, NFL, Chargers look okay. You're a Panthers fan, right? Aren't you? Yeah, they're not look great. No, they are probably the worst team in the league. But no, yeah, it's about midway through the season, so not too much to talk about from there. But it's heating up.
Who's the MVP favorite? I heard CJ Stroud at the start of the year, but
no, he's not anywhere close to it. Lamar is probably going to win it. Lamar Jackson, very good player. He's impossible. I think I was chatting with someone yesterday about this. It's very hard to compete with him in terms of MVP.
Year?
Yeah, he's won it. I think he's won it twice or 3 times. He's won it like 3 times, and it's just like it's impossible to compete with him in terms of the stats that he puts up. And the Ravens are winning games as well, so it's not like...
Didn't they start 0-3?
Yeah, they started really bad, but now they're really, really good. But yeah, he's just an unreal player in terms of what he can do both running and part. Like he's probably one of the most electric runners in the NFL at quarterback, which is just crazy. And he can throw pretty well as well. So he's got an unbelievable supporting cast. And he's just crazy. So, yeah, he'll win it. Probably most definitely. I think it's locked up even now. But yeah, Pat Mahomes hasn't looked fantastic at the start of the season, especially at the interceptions, but he looked good last week. Derrick Henry as well. Do you know who Derrick Henry is?
I've heard of him.
Big guy. Massive guy. Like 6'1", 250.
What position is he?
Running back. And he just runs at people. And he's got 1,000 yards already. Like he's crazy.
What about Saquon
doing
with
that
the jump?
Did you see that?
Yeah,
that is probably the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
imagine how athletic that guy. Imagine you and the guy wasn't. So imagine you were standing right there, and I was just jumped over you backwards in the middle of a game. Like that's crazy. That's crazy. But no, yeah, he is probably the craziest athlete I've ever seen. Yeah, that's about it.
Nice.
Anything else you want to yap about?
I don't know. Nothing's coming to mind.
Nah.
There is Suaalii's making his debut.
Well, yeah, Suaalii's making his debut for the Wallabies against England, I believe, on Sunday morning, our time. So, be interesting to see. I think, obviously, a lot of talk was about would he sort of play in the team straight away, and he is. So, yes. I'm actually keen to not watch the game, obviously, because I'm not staying up for the Wallabies, but I'll watch the highlights in the morning. So,
yes.
No, it'll be interesting to see if he does anything. Verstappen winning F1 as well. That's
he hasn't officially won, but it's pretty much over. Yeah.
We had just a sliver of hope for about 20 seconds.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, Red Bull have probably lost the constructors due to their inability to remove Perez from the car. But
no, he's great. He's great. What is Perez going to be gone for next? I mean, I feel like we talk about this every episode, but is he going to be gone for next season?
It's still unknown. I mean, they've obviously brought Liam Lawson in to the RB car, which is essentially it's been posted as like a tryout for Red Bull these last few races of the season. Okay. Sonoda, obviously, they don't really have faith in him. Otherwise, he would have already been in the car. He's been in the RB car for how many years now? So, yeah, but who knows? I mean, Perez just has so much money that it's hard to get rid of him.
It is. It is tough.
But he is so bad. So it's a corrupt sport where, clearly the worst driver on the grid probably is in the best car.
No, he's not the worst. He's nowhere near the worst. I think... No.
Okay, after Stroll. Stroll's clearly the worst.
Oh,
but
I think that's harsh on him. Honestly...
On who?
Parrott. I thought, he's been good at times. To say he's the worst is a bit harsh. Should he be
now? I'd say he's the worst.
Should he be in a friggin'
Haas?
Yeah, should he be in probably a lower car?
Haas
yes.
are actually pretty good right now.
But he shouldn't be in a Red Bull, but he is definitely a top 20 driver. I think that's a bit.
I don't know, because there's so many young guys that just don't get the opportunity that are probably better than him.
Like he was, what was that team that he was in before? Team India or something?
Force India.
He was good in there. He was better than Ocon in there.
Yeah.
And Ocon's a top 20 driver.
But he's
like, I think he's around that level though. I think he's like Bottas, Ocon level.
But see, Bottas in hindsight was great in the Mercedes. Like he was clearly, second to Hamilton, but he would still win the odd race. He'd come second in the championship every year. And everyone was hating on him for sucking. But, compared to Perez, he's great.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. We've had a bit of a rant towards the end, but hope you enjoyed. Anything you want to say to send us off? Or
Nope, adios.
Adios, peeps. Like and subscribe.